Hey guys, first we're gonna start with the battery. We have to remove the battery. Then we're gonna take out the two screws that holds the memory bay cover, as well as the wireless card cover out of the bottom chassis before we can remove the hard drive bay cover. Then you have to take out the hard drive connector from the system board. You may want to use the plier because sometimes it's a little bit stuck. And then pull out the hard drive from the bay. Next, I will be removing the screws that holds the optical drive to the bottom chassis before I remove the unit or the drive. But I will loosen up the drive bay because earlier I noticed that the optical drive was a little bit stuck. So you might be wondering why I also removed the other screws on the other chassis, because the bottom chassis and the top chassis are very tight enough to hold the optical drive, so better to loosen them up. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, it's a little bit stuck here, so I may loosen up some more screws, or I may remove some more screws here. Okay, so I got it out, and then this time I will be taking out the wireless card. And then there's one section there that has a metal that I think will hold a Bluetooth or something, but you might just not remove that. Okay, then I'll continue with removing some more screws from the bottom chassis so that I can release the top panel from the machine. You may notice that I put the screws on that sticky pad there. That's actually an adhesive tape. Please follow the organizational method that I use with the small parts. This way, whenever you put back the machine or the parts or reassemble everything, it will be easier. Now I am removing the screws from the battery bay. I'm just checking if there are still some more screws left. I think, yeah, there's one still left in the hard drive bay. Then if you think you already remove all the screws, just flip open the machine so that you can pull out the keyboard. I use a box cutter to run along the narrow gap between the edge of the keyboard and the top panel holder. Then there's a lock. Just release it so that you can take out the keyboard. Then take out all the screws on the top panel. There are about 4 screws on the top panel before you can remove the palm rest and touchpad assembly. But wait, there's another connector here. It's a touchpad connector. You have to remove that as well. And now we'll have to loosen the top panel from the bottom chassis using a spudger. I run it along the location where the top panel meets the bottom chassis. Run it all around so that you can eventually take out the top panel. And then you know, this machine is a little bit tricky because there's some more screws hiding behind that rubber stand or rubber grommet. So take out those rubber grommet, the coin shaped rubber grommets, and there's like a receptacle there that hides the 2 screws. Actually, those 2 screws are anchor screws for the top panel, so you cannot remove the top panel if you don't remove these 2 screws. Then flip over the machine, and that's the time you can release that. But wait, there's another connector here. That is the connector for the power. You might as well remove that. I should have done it earlier, but I'm sorry guys, this is just only a one-take video, so I don't have any more time to retake this, so I just forgot that. Please disconnect that power connector. Now I will be removing the video cable or the data cable connector out of the system board. I'm using a spudger right now to push it, and I don't yank the wire because it's the wire is sometimes sensitive. When you pull them, you might break one of the wires. Now I will be releasing the antenna wire from the conduit so that I can take out the LCD assembly. By this time, if you just want to replace your LCD screen, so just take out the screws from the hinges and continue by removing the LCD assembly. But for me, I will, as I told you earlier, I will be taking out all the internal parts. This time I'm removing the wire harness that is connected to the system board before I can remove the DC in connector or the power jack and wire harness assembly. On this area, in this section where I'm removing the screws now, is where the DC power jack and one USB port are located. So I'm taking those two small parts. I will be putting in some more adhesive tape so that I can organize some more screws here. So please take note, if I took out the screws from the right section of the system or any part, I also map them accordingly. That's the DC power jack with a wire harness. If you want to replace your broken DC power jack, so this is the time to do that. Now I will take out the LCD screen assembly. Remove all the screws from the hinges. There are about 2 screws on each hinges. You may notice why I removed some more screws here, because earlier I took out the wrong screw that should have belonged to the base or the bottom the chassis. So I'm gonna put back those screws that I took. Now I'm removing the connector that goes to the hard drive away from the system board. And then I will be taking out some more screws here. These are anchor screws that holds the motherboard to the bottom chassis. Some motherboards, they have like those markers for the system, for the anchor screws. For this particular model, they don't have, so I'm using a marker so that I will know where I took those particular screws. Note, there are like a bunch of other receptacles there, so I want to make sure that whenever I put all the parts, I'm not gonna place the anchor screws on a different position. So a marker could have been a very good tool. At this time, I'm looking at the 2 connectors. The one that connects to the pilot lamp or the pilot indicator. Remove that, as well as the connector for the speakers. So now I'm taking out some more anchor screws on the top section of the motherboard here. Then slowly loosen up the whole motherboard before taking out from the bay. So now this is the motherboard. Next I will be removing the CPU. This guys, I'm showing to you how I discharge the ESD or electronic static discharge from my body by touching the metal portion of my workbench. My workbench is connected to the earth ground, so you might do that as well if you don't have a ground strap. For me, I don't use ground strap, it's just so annoying. I only touch the metal section of the workbench I'm working. So I just removed the CPU fan and heatsink assembly. So I guess I have done my part here, guys. So I leave everything to you, and good luck. Please don't forget to sign up to my YouTube channel or check my blog at www.ifixiteasy.com. Thanks, guys.